Okay, Saint Jack, as our teacher assigned us, we need to make an outline what a good city and urban community looks like. It's not only good on the paper, but it's all need to tackle the real life problem. So, what do you think that makes a city good and sustainable?
I think there are two main keys: the environment and social economics. A healthy environment and a prosperous society must go hand in hand. For example, we must ensure that there are no polluting industry like iron steel industry near the dense residential area because it's quite dangerous for health. But on the other hand, the community also needs to ensure there are enough job opportunities for the residents there. So the challenge is to create jobs without harming the environment too much. I mean, of course, there's a trade-off between two aspects, and I think the really critical point is to strike a balance between two aspects.
I do agree with that. With the both of ideas, it's very important, and very in our daily activity. But I want to mention the environmental aspect first. Instead of the industrial pollution for the air condition, I think the another main source of air pollution is transportation.
Yeah, that's all right. Actually, in this modern city, the motor vehicles is a huge contributor to the air condition pollution. The classic solutions are promoting the public transport, walking, and cycling. But here's the problem, like for the cycling, because we know when we will build the bike paths, it will make the road narrower, and it will also add to the traffic jams. And instead of the new solution, and they are become a new problem, I think.
Oh yeah, the cycle is such a real life problem. So, are there any solution to tackle these issues?
There is, and it's really cool. One example I read about a transport initiative in Berlin, Germany. And they are planning a bike path called the Red Van, and it will be a bike route over 9 kilometers long and running along one of the Berlin main roads. What makes this unique and genius is, I think, the path will be built under the elevated train line, and it will utilizing the space of the city.
So, when we use the way of path under the rail, so we utilizing the unused space.
Yeah, exactly. The space under the train was previously just used for the illegal parking, but now they will transform it into a safe bike path, which protected from the sun and rain, and complete with the small green space, caves, and the bike repair spots. This is a prime example of the smart urban land, and they don't need to acquire the expensive land use. They are just use what's already there to create a sustainable transport solution, reduce the traffic jam, and increase the safety of the cyclists, I think.
So the principle is to have urban regeneration, repurposing dead space into a productive and living space. I think it's a very applicable way for big city like Berlin.
So I think we both agree that the city and urban community need to provide a good environment and utilizing every space in a good ways. But the another aspect that Ashley already mentioned before, the social aspect, I think it's also important to all the citizens that live inside the city to have a good life. Because if we have a good environment, but the people inside cannot do something for their life, it's also bad, right?
Yeah, that's it. So I remember there's an example, like there's an interesting example from Kingston, Jamaica, and there's a community arts initiative that called Paint Jamaica.
Pardon my confusion, but I've heard people say street art is often considered the vandalism. Do you think that's still the case?
I mean, there is a common perception, but Paint Jamaica flipped the narrative. Instead of allowing random graffiti, this community activity encouraged organized murals and street art. They did research first. They learned about the stories and history of the local residents. And then, a group of artists were tasked with painting those stories onto the city walls and turning them into a colorful and meaningful artwork.
But not besides of the aesthetic aspect and the street art, what's the social impact?
I mean, there's quite many because, first of all, this activity builds community spirits and pride. Residents feel involved and their stories are valued. Second, it sparks creativity and, most importantly, creates jobs. Local artists get paid for their work, and activity once viewed negatively is transformed into a source of income. And city aesthetics, I mean, is a great example of how the creative economy can be a part of sustainable development.
Yeah, I agree with your point, and I think it's really cool.
I think that's a brilliant idea, right? So, if I'm not mistaken, for our discussion, we got two important points, right?
Yeah. For me, from the Berlin, we learned that the smart, sustainable solutions are possible by utilizing the space. We can create transport systems that are environmentally friendly and humane, I think.
And from Kingston, we learned that the development must involve people and their stories. Art is not just a decoration, it's a tool to empower the communities and to create identity, or even drive the economy.
Okay, right. So let me conclude our discussion today.
Okay.
So the conclusion is, let's design a city that's not only thinks about the environment in the technical aspect, in technical terms, but the city must be also mentioned about the strong, inclusive, and a creative social economy aspect. So the city and the urban community must be use every inch of the space for the common good and include all the people inside to the development of the city and urban community.
Yeah, I think the sustainable development is more like a trinity between the environment, the economy, and the society. I mean, we shouldn't we shouldn't ignore any of them, or we should not just focusing too much on any one of them. So a balance between these three aspects is what we should do and we have to do, because I mean, if we ignore any one of them, it can't be a very good and successful sustainable city. And if we just focus on one of them, I mean, we are just over consuming the society and we will harm it eventually.
Okay. So we need to balance the both aspects.
Yeah.
So alright, we will submit some word to our teacher. It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.